So, you have been cheating on me. After all these years, I have always been faithful to you, and you do this to me? Mrs. David asked with tears in her eyes. Once upon a time, in a bustling city, there lived a maid named Bisi. She worked for a wealthy couple, Mr. and Mrs. David. Bisi came from a humble background, her life marked by hardship and missed opportunities. She dreamed of a future where she could escape poverty, and every day she watched her employer's lavish lifestyle with envy and fascination. Mr. David was a kind man, always polite and respectful towards her, and Bisi secretly admired him. Over time, admiration grew into something deeper, a kind of love she kept hidden in the quiet chambers of her heart. Bisi got more desperate to change her life when she learned that her own mother was ill. She had no one else to turn to, and in her mind, becoming part of Mr. David's life seemed like her only salvation. Bisi convinced herself that if she could carry his child, he would care for her and the child, lifting her out of her struggles. One evening, as she was cleaning, she noticed a used condom in the trash. A wild, desperate idea came into her mind. She hesitated, but her desperation outweighed her sense of right and wrong. She carefully retrieved the condom and decided she would attempt artificial insemination on her own, hoping that it would be enough to secure her future. Weeks passed, and Bisi anxiously awaited the result of her plan. She avoided Mrs. David's questioning gaze, feeling guilt gnawing at her inside. But hope and desperation kept her going. A month later, she discovered that she was indeed pregnant. Heart racing, she envisioned a life where she could confront Mr. David with the truth and secure a place for herself and her child. But her joy was short-lived. When Mr. David learned of her pregnancy, he was shocked and horrified. Mrs. David, devastated by what she saw as a betrayal, immediately pieced together what had happened. So, you have been cheating on me. After all these years, I have always been faithful to you, and you do this to me? Mrs. David asked with tears in her eyes. Mr. David pleaded and explained that he had never had anything to do with the maid. Immediately, Mrs. David, who was upset about the whole situation, stormed out of the house. Mr. David then called the police, and the police made Bisi to confess. She confessed to have carried his used condom and practiced artificial insemination on herself. She was taken away by the police, and when his wife, Mrs. David, found out from the police about what Bisi had done, she felt more heartbroken because it still boiled down to the fact that her husband had been bringing another woman into the house when she's not around, because she's aware that she and her husband do not use a condom. Bisi's dreams of love and security turned to ash, her hope extinguished by the consequences of her own actions. She faced her future with regret and the knowledge that desperation had driven her down a dark path, one that she would now have to pay for in ways she had never imagined. She was sent to prison and eventually gave birth in the prison. Do you think Mrs. David will come back to reconcile with her husband after learning the truth? And what is your thought about Mr. David's action? Hope you enjoyed this story. And what do you think will happen to the baby? Share your thoughts in the comment section and hit like and subscribe button for more interesting stories.